watch it burn. 'Cause I could never ride it. I don't wanna see you turn. You got me feeling, 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 you got me feeling.
Hello? Can you hear me? You do. Hello, everybody. It's my great pleasure to be here. My name is Claudia Ribeiro, and I'm from the Executive Board of FEP. What a week it has been, and it's not over yet. We are just moments away from the grand final, and I know we are all holding our breath. So I'll be brief, I promise. On behalf of the Executive Board, I must tell you how immensely proud we are for everything that has taken part throughout this remarkable week. We have truly had the world with us. 12 outstanding teams who, over the course of these days, have grown in one big family. Guided by 12 committed advisors. You were the reason why we gathered here, and it's always magical to witness what you can achieve in such a short time. Your future holds extraordinary things for you, and we'll be thrilled to watch you soar. I know this may sound like a cliche, but it's the purest truth. This week began as a dream of a few, but it became reality thanks to the energy and dedication of many, a large and exceptional team. First, this event was made possible thanks to our loyal sponsors, whose trust in us allowed us to aim even higher. As Renata told me, we put all our eggs in this basket, or in good Portuguese, pusemos a carne toda no assador. And this was possible only thanks to them. Thank you. Great minds reveal themselves when faced with demanding challenges, and our case companies offered precisely that. Thoughtful, complex, and inspiring problems to solve. Thank to Parfois, to Natixis and RTE, who will no doubt return home with valuable insights and fresh ideas for their business, we hope. Throughout the competition, we were fortunate to count on no fewer than 31 jury members, highly experienced experts and professionals who generously devoted their precious time to delve deeply into the team's solutions, elevating the challenge throughout insightful, sometimes provocative, and always enriching questions. Our team's ambassadors helped the week to run even more smoothly. Ever at their team's side, they ensured that every participant felt at home, as we always do in Porto, acting almost their guardian angels. I must also highlight our marketing and events team, whose presence often goes unnoticed only because they're always there, several steps ahead, prepared for every possible scenarios. They were our right and left hand during this week, as they are in fact throughout the whole year. Thank you for them as well. A special word goes to FEP, the FEP International Case Competition team. They train year-round to be at their very best in the competitions they take part in worldwide. This week, they also took on the responsibility of hosting, organizing, and managing the logistics of the entire event. Well done, FIT, and we're truly proud of you. Last, but by no means the least, and I believe everyone in this beautiful hall will wholeheartedly agree that we must honor the heart and the soul of this competition, Renata Blanc and Catarina Roseira. You are unstoppable, you are unbeatable and tireless indeed. None of these would actually exist without you. Thank you very much. That's true. So, just to finish, this is in fact how we do it, organize this sort of events here in Porto. This is how we do it here at FEP. Thank you all, and we look forward to welcoming you in about 2 years' time in the International Case Competition in 2027. Thank you so much to everybody.
Okay. A bit loud. So I believe Claudia said it all, but anyway, we want to put some names and some images into your faces of the people that we want to thank. Of course, we want to thank our sponsors. This year, as a main sponsor, we have, as you know, Bain & Company. They are FEP International Case Team sponsor for 2 years, for the upcoming 2 years, so thank you, Bain. As competition sponsors, we have Deloitte, Natixis, EY, and Parfois. And as other sponsors, McKinsey & Company, that provided a case cracking workshop, as you know. Livraria Lelo, that provided an amazing moment on Monday afternoon when we were at the bookstore and when we explored their books and the amazing decorations they have. Quinta do Infantado, that awarded our judges with some nice port wine. Yeah, it's there. And Cerealis, that provided cookies for our case competitors and judges and staff during the week.
Okay, so Renata already Claudia already thanked our case companies, but we really need to thank you all again. First of all, for embracing the challenge that we gave you and supporting us on the case writing and then on being also part of the judge members. And of course, we need to single out one of the companies, Natixis, that was truly exceptional, not only as the case company, but also as hosting our participants during 2 days and providing unique and wonderful spaces for them to solve the cases, and also providing food and comfort and all types of support. So thank you all.
Claudia also mentioned the jurors. In fact, I mean, this was, I think in terms of jurors, the biggest competition we've organized so far. So we had 31 people, very senior, people from the companies and people that were from the case companies and people that were from other companies. So all corporate judges that did what we believe was an amazing job, both from Parfois, Natixis, and also this morning from RTE. And now in the afternoon, a new panel of judges also for RT. So thank you so much for the time you spent, for your dedication, and the amazing contribution that you gave for our students, also in terms of the learning process with all the feedback.
And now, the most important people in the room, the 12 teams that came from very different places around the world to join and participate in our case competition. So, wait. So we know that in every competition there will be winners, there will be finalists, but in fact you are all winners. You were all excellent and all of you impressed the judges. So please give yourselves a big, big, big round of applause.
So me and Katarina, of course, we also want to extend a big thank you to everyone that helped us throughout the week. So first of all, FEP direction, the board, Mariana, Diogo and Joaquim, they were the support for the major support for this event to happen. We also had a very good team in logistics, in marketing, with whom it would have been completely impossible to run this event. Okay, so thank you so much. You made it possible.
So also for the other FIC members that worked in logistics, supporting and making sure that all the operations went well. And also Claudia gave already an appreciation for FEP staff, but I would like to single out the people that are here on this slide. So Olga Cruz, our event planner. Thank you, Olga, you are amazing. All of them are amazing. Sofia Veiga, also our career development director, and also the one that manages the connections with the sponsors, etc. So Sofia, thank you also. Anna Duarte, our communication manager. Thank you, Anna, for all your effort and support. João Souza, our amazing designer that always welcomed our challenges, that designed the entire image and rebranding of our case competition. So all the materials that you have were designed by João. Great work, João. Thank you so much. And last but not least, Helena Correia, perhaps the less visible person in the team that is always there for us, taking care of the bureaucratic processes, bookings, etc. Not just in this case competition, but she always has our backs when we go to international case competitions, and also a big, big supporter. Thank you, Helena.
So all participants know these people very well, right? So they were your right wing during this week, you know, getting you at the right time, taking you to the right place, cheering you up when you were not so happy, and making the party with you when you were happier. And these are your ambassadors. So a big round of applause for the ambassadors of ICC. Before we finish, personally, I also want to thank Katarina.
We seem like an old couple.
So I usually say that I couldn't be luckier in having this partner in crime for case competition. So we run FICT together, we train teams together, and we organize this competition together. And it's incredible how easy it is to work together. So we actually don't split work. It's a bit strange because it's very organic. We take care of the same things, or things of the same area, but one takes care, the other takes care. We share what we're doing, and everything runs smoothly. So
sometimes we row.
Yeah, sometimes we row. It's also part of it. But I love working with you. Thank you.
You said it all. I love you, my dear.
So One last word for, well, when we clapped the teams, we clapped all the team members, okay? But I'd like to leave one last word to the people that make this team so special, because you have amazing talent, but you have a lot of training, right? So this level of performance that you have wouldn't be possible with many hours of training. And the guilty people behind that are your advisors, who are not just very bright people, but they are also very dedicated people. So the number of hours we dedicate to training our teams is a large number of hours. They cheer for you. I mean, they're there for you, and I think that one day you will look back and think that you were so lucky to have these people at such a young age to mentor you and to help you grow. And for sure, they are the ones, a part of the ones to blame for your future success, of which we have no doubt. So big, big, big applause to your advisors. So let the final presentations begin. The room host for today is Mariana.
Hi, thank you. As President Renata said, I'm Mariana and I'll be your room host today. But I think what you're more interested for is to hear the teams rather than myself. So we can please welcome our team number 1 from Wilfrid Laurier. All right, I'm so sorry. It looks like you still need your head mics, right? Okay, so you can go on ahead to the IT team back there. They can help you out. I'm so sorry. As usual, it looks like we're creating a momentum before we get to the actual important stuff. All right, team, you ready? Come on up. Big round of applause for them again, maybe? All right, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mariana, and I'll be the room host for the FEP U.Porto ICC 2025 finals. And over here is my colleague Mafalda, who'll be your timekeeper for this session. So the session will proceed as follows. After a brief presentation of the judges, the team will be allowed to start their presentation. The presentation period will be 15 minutes long, and my colleague Mafalda will show you when there's 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and 1 minute left in your presentation. Please keep in mind that once your time is up, you're allowed to finish your question, your answer, and no more than that. The presentation will be followed by a 15-minute Q&A, where Mafalda will also show you the same signs. So, just a quick announcement for the audience. You're not allowed to react in any way during the presentation or during the Q&A, all right? So now, may I ask our distinguished judges to present themselves, please?
Nice to meet you all. Thank you for your time and your presence. Nuno Figueiredo from Deloitte.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bruno Salgado. I'm a board member in RTE and a general manager of BIC.
Good afternoon. Apologies. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lucas. It's a pleasure to be here. Best of luck to all the teams competing today.
Good afternoon, everyone. Laura Fernandes from Natixis. Best of luck on the presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here and for the effort. My name is Francisco Fontoura. I'm a director at EY. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, thank you, judges. Are you guys ready to begin?
Sorry, I'm clicking. Well, let me go over that.
All right, let me try. Yeah, is it working now?
Pressing it. Do you want to use the keyboard? At the computer? Yeah. It's like it works sometimes, not most.
So sorry, guys, just a second. Okay, so sorry, team. Whenever you're ready, you can start presenting. Good luck. The timer will start when you start speaking. Thank you.
Safety and life-saving procedures are not a privilege. They are a right. And as cities get denser, seconds begin to matter more. And the tools that we use to address these needs must rise to the challenge. Good afternoon, judges. My name is Aveen, and I'm so proud to be here alongside Vivek, Aiden, and Adam to take you through how BEAK can become this lifeline for all Europeans. Your BEAK product line is doing very well within the Portuguese market, and this is because of your expertise as a European bike manufacturer. We know that you want to expand into Spain in 2026 and are looking for a way to do so that BEAK can become trusted and profitable within this segment. So this begs the question, how can BEAK scale across Europe, starting in Spain, when the competition is so intense? And to answer this question, we need to understand which customers we need to win in the Spanish market, how to scale across Europe, and ultimately, how do we build trust and awareness? To answer these questions, it's important to understand your key stakeholders. E-bike consumers are looking for trust and reliability. Your current RTE6 clients must also be addressed. As you continue to scale BEAK, it's important to not jeopardize the relationship that you have with these current clients. And finally, when we look at competition, we see how intense it is in the mass market segment. It's important to understand that with BEAK's core competencies right now, a mass market strategy simply will not be feasible. Ultimately, we need to look for trust, avoiding channel conflict, and ultimately finding a niche, defensible segment in order to target.
Thanks, Aveen. And now it's time to answer the question, does it make more sense to target a B2C or a B2B strategy for BEAK in Spain? And to do this, we can revisit the decision criteria that Aveen just highlighted, along with adding a fourth one of making sure it is super expandable. And for this, we've came up with around 20 different alternative solutions for BEAK to use. However, we can see strategies like a direct-to-consumer marketing campaign does not actually create a defendable niche. Then, in terms of city partnerships and public rentals, this is actually not scalable across the other European markets. However, we see that there's now 5 new ideas that could actually be potential alternatives for BEAK to expand into Spain. Let's take a deeper dive. And when we do this, we can actually add new decision criteria such as market size and ease of entry. For the first one of B2C subscription models, this is targeting lower income consumers. Not really ideal for us. Secondly, for hospitality, this is a very saturated market and not one that we have conviction makes the most sense to enter. Thirdly, for last mile delivery, we see that the Beak product doesn't actually align with the type of product that these drivers are actually going out and purchasing. And that brings us to corporate partnerships. I just want to pause here for a second, because at face value, this seems like a very attractive opportunity. However, after deeper research, we found that all of RTE's existing clients offer the same corporate partnerships today, and that if we were to in any way encroach on this market, we have a direct channel conflict, meaning that this is not a feasible solution that could be pitched today. And that brings us to EMS, or in other words, Emergency Mobility Services. And I know you're probably wondering, what does that even mean? Is this an attractive market? And is it big enough to even grow into? The answer is absolutely yes. But let's take a look at why. We see that within Spain, they have around a 28% slow response time into critical emergencies. Why might this be the case? Well, the leading causes is lack of infrastructure for these large EMS vehicles or congestion from traffic. But how can Beak actually solve this? Well, we don't actually have to look too far. We can look at Netherlands, where they recently implemented e-bikes into their police fleet. Things that they've experienced is a 50% reduction in terms of the response time in these congested regions and up to 90% cost savings on daily mobility operating costs. And on top of that, Beak products are super sustainable, something that these EMS services require in their new fleets. But is this a big enough opportunity? Yes. Spain recently made it public that they are going to spend up to 93 million euros in terms of retrofitting their fleet in the coming years. Awesome. And with that being said, I'm so excited to introduce the Beak Guardian Fleet Strategy, where we first are going to be retrofitting our bike products to these EMS service providers and provide real-time data analytics as well as predictive maintenance to ensure constant uptake. Secondly, we're going to scale across Spain through a playbook B2B strategy, and then lastly, expand into broader Europe, targeting Tier 1 EU markets, all in all, creating a 32% 5-year project IRR.
Amazing. So today, we have 3 steps on our journey. First, we need to make sure that the product fits. Then we need a clear sales strategy, and finally, a clear path to international expansion. But first, let's take a look at product fit. When we look at EMS vehicles, we see that there are 3 key components. 1, they need visual signals. 2, they need payload capacity. And finally, they need operational uptime and fleet management. So when we're modifying our e-bikes, we need to make sure that we're hitting these 3 key specifications. And we believe you're uniquely positioned to do this because of your excellent manufacturing capabilities. But let's take a look at what this actually would look like on a bike. And we've picked your E850 as the go-to baseline because of its strong aluminum frame and swappable batteries. And now we look at how we can modify it to meet the product specifications. We know that they need a visual presence, so we can add lights onto the front of the bike to deliver that. We know that they need storage capacity, so we can add a tactical box onto the back of the bike to provide that. And finally, we know that they want operational readiness and fleet insights. And this is where things get really exciting, is we can embed a sensor into the bike that gives us clear metrics like battery health as well as geolocation services. But this sensor is not just metrics. This is a shift in your business model from what was once a one-time purchase to a recurring revenue source that is extremely sticky by providing the EMS services with fleet maintenance. So essentially what we do is we analyze and repair the bikes before they even go down, leveraging our partner Bros's network of service providers. And you might be thinking, this is extremely difficult. How can we even do this? Is this feasible? Well, we can implement this in 3 steps. 1, there's an existing module which you plug exactly into your battery as well as drivetrain. And after you plug that in, you automatically get access to the dashboards I just talked about earlier, as well as all of the predictive analytics. So over time, you can now manage these bikes and notice, hey, this one's been driven a lot, let's change the brakes, and you can leverage your partner's network of service providers to make sure that these bikes are operational ready when they are needed most. And we can now see that this is a key success story, as this has been implemented time and time again, reducing operational outages by 30% in many case studies. And putting this all together, we now see that we have the perfect bike to go out and target EMS fleets with. But the best part is these features I've talked about, your partners already make. So you just need to add a simple order to your purchase and you are ready to go out and sell these bikes. And it's not just for police. You can also see how modular this platform is for paramedics who need a lot of these similar services to really empower and enable EMS.
Thanks, Hayden. Now you understand that the product fits the EMS client. It's now time to bring this to the Spanish market and make that go-to-market come to life. The key question you asked us is what sales channels should you use to make this happen, direct or indirect? We looked at your current business, and today we see that you largely focus on D2C sales via online sales. And you have tourism contracts here and there, but you don't really have a formal B2B sales process. And we think that you must have a formal sales playbook to make this happen, because without it, you can see a 37% lower capture rate. So we looked at what does the EMS client acquisition playbook look like across Europe, and there's 4 key steps. First, identify the decision maker. Second, figure out what the value proposition is for them. Third, get them to try the Beak Guardian fleet. And lastly, establish pilot contracts. I'm going to walk you through all 4 of these steps for Spain specifically. So initially, figuring out who the decision maker is. On the left, we've identified 2 potential clients. And when looking at, let's say, the police services in Madrid, we see Alejandro as a great pick to be the first point of contact because he's that fleet technician that can help us point to the right direction. Other roles can be seen on the right. On the second key step is tailoring the value proposition on behalf of RTE and Beak for these EMS clients. And we think that the best way to do this is by creating custom tender packages, as you can see on the far left that I've drafted for both of these sample clients, that can include key details, as you can see on the right, for bike support, fleet sizes, pricing plans, and so on. Why would you want to even do this in the first place? What we see is that according to the Spanish contract law, by being able to have these tender packages ahead of time, RTE and Beak can escape the entire public bidding process and get and intercept these contracts much, much earlier on, giving you that first mover's advantage. The third step, we know that your Beak bikes are extremely convertible once they're tried out the first time. You told us 40% of the conversion rate on in-person trials into actual purchase. So we want to invite these EMS clients to come and try out the Beak bikes, give us feedback on the safety features and so on, so we can continuously iterate. But most importantly, strategically, this means that you can now have a stronger relationship, which we know that your business thrives on. The last step is scaling these pilot contracts across Spain, and we'll model that on the left here. And we know that this is going to be protected from competitors encroaching to you because there's a huge regulatory barrier to allow other competitors from entering. The next key question you asked us today was how do you build brand awareness and trust for the Beak brand? Specifically for EMS clients, we suggest going to the EMS conferences and mobility centers to be able to showcase the key success stories from your clients that you work with, and we have identified 2 events on the bottom left there. But you might be wondering, our strategy is largely B2B. How do we build awareness in the consumer's mind? And that's where our awareness campaign comes in, where we want to leverage digital channels as well as in-person channels to build an informational and trust-focused tone, as you can see on the left, where we have helping save lives where ambulances can't. This is a purely trust-building tone and not a sales strategy, which is what's going to avoid channel conflicts in the future. Operationally, Jose, we only have a sales team of 4 people. We suggest having 2 additional people that will fully lead the EMS contracts. Financially, this opens new revenue streams and costs are kept low, but on the North Star, this moves you from just a product seller to a fleet partner, mission-critical fleet partner to the business.
Now we know what we're selling and how to sell it within the Spain market, but it's time to buckle up because we're going internationally. You asked us, after Spain, which EU country makes the most sense to expand into? And to do this, we researched 5 critical factors, being public infrastructure, supportive climate, improvement potential, public spending on EMS, and then lastly, competitive intensity. We actually mapped many different countries within the EU region, which you can expand into. And then we see that there's 3 clear groups. 1 being e-bike leaders, 2 early adopters, and 3 low-growth markets. We want to prioritize the e-bike leaders. We can see in Spain and Portugal in the short term, but calling out that France in 2028 makes the most sense as the next farther market. But let's walk how this expansion looks like. There's going to be 3 key steps. In terms of regulatory approval, the tender packages that Vivek just explained and walked you through can just be incrementally changed to be focused on the France market. Then in terms of the B2B sales process, we know that this process is exactly the same in all the markets which we've pitched, so we can just learn, improve, and get better at it when we reach this French market. And then lastly, long-term scale, we can track key KPIs like BEAC adoption, number of EMS partners, and then of course retention rates.
Now that we understand how BEAC can serve as a lifeline, we know that ideas are nothing without execution. So the first phase of this strategy is to actually get into contact with the vendors like Vivek mentioned, or even go further and talk to the government official for the Madrid region. Next, you're going to want to pilot in the Madrid segment and begin talking to the Portuguese segment as well. And ultimately, as you're pulling out the Portugal contracts, you're going to look and go to the Spanish market, or the French market, I should say, and speak to the director of sales there. Bruno, for you, on Monday morning, you need to first look at how to get that Role C certification that allows you to sell public contracts within the Spanish region. It's as simple as filling out a form online with all of the certifications that BEAC already has. And along the way, we can take a look at it. Should we encounter various different policy tailwinds, we can look at setting up these public tender contracts on the platform itself, whether that be at a regional or even a federal level.
And so we've conducted a ton of financial analysis to ensure that this is a viable market opportunity. But I'm going to walk you through some of the key findings. I want to invite you to look up to the top right of the screen in terms of our budget breakdown for the first year. We project spending around 600,000 euros with the key drivers of facility alterations, product R&D, and employee salaries. However, we aren't actually changing the production line itself, so we're going to have no production facility downtime. And as we know, an investment has to return a positive return. And so we know that it's going to drive around 1.3 million euros in incremental EBITDA by fiscal year 2030, with the assumption here that we can get around 11 active contracts in fiscal year 2030. And so now, taking a step back, we know that for BEAC, time is money. That's something that we're constantly told on our company tour. And for EMS, every second means saving more lives. And with the Guardian Fleet strategy, we're confident that BEAC is positioned to capitalize on both in the next 5 years. Thank you very much, and we open the floor to any questions.
Very well. Thank you, Tim, for the insights and, well, this works. Thank you for the insights and the strategy put together. So I'll start to ask you, well, you're trying to go to government, public institutions as main client in expanding to Spain. Spain is near Portugal, but they have a very tendency to be very national enthusiastic. So how do you see a Portuguese company to be a winner in that market, namely in the public space in Spain?
So there we go. What we see today is that actually we found out during our earlier presentation that BEAC has actually already started a partnership with PSP in Portugal just last year to make this police contract come to life. You've sold over 220 bikes is what we heard from our earlier presentation. So we know that in Portugal, at least, this is very feasible. Your question was about the Spanish market. What we see today is that the 94 million euros that's being poured into Spain to specifically retrofit their current police and medical fleets is actually fully just purposed for this exact reason. The amount of pedestrian zero emission zones in Spain are skyrocketing. They also have these boulders that come up, that are 3 of them, that make it impossible for any cars or ambulances to even enter the street. And so what we see is that your bike's top speed is 25 kilometers per hour. The average human walks or runs at 6 kilometers per hour. We can already see that being in this environment makes you hyper easy to capture that 94 million, but also be right there in the emergency situation. So although the politics might interfere with that, we know that the capital is definitely behind the strategy.
Thank you very much. It was a really, really good presentation. How do you expect, do you get to the knowledge if you know that the decision makers are central or if they are split because you spoke about lots of countries, and with whom should BIC treat about all these subjects?
Yeah, thank you for your question. So within the EU, we see that the public tender contracts are often on like a regional level or a federal level, depending on the country that you're in. Specifically for Spain, we see that it's a very regional-wide mix. For Madrid itself, it's very specifically, we have to look at the governing body of Madrid, or even we can go directly to the person that runs the Madrid Police Department and expedite that process, as Vivek mentioned, because of the fact that those public tender contracts will be put out in the public, but because of the fact that we can go and establish this relationship early, it kind of gets you ahead in that public tender contract bidding process and allows you to actually be able to get that contract in before other companies try to bid for it. Now, when looking at France, it's a very similar process with a regional head in each of the different provinces in France. And at the same time, you can go and look at the director within each of these regions and actually establish that first contact to ensure that your product is at the top of their mind when they put out these public tender offers, and your bid will eventually win.
First of all, congratulations. This is a top-level presentation. You guys did amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My question is around the implementation within the company. As we are aware, they currently sell mostly to consumers, and now we're going to sell to the government. And then you envision this only adding 2 FTEs to support this, let's say, change management internally. How do you expect the culture to the company to change from going to small shops directly with the consumers, and now we're talking about going to the government and a little bit more of a different conversation?
Yeah, so I think that's an incredible question. I think RTE, at least on the tour, what stood out to me the most was our ability to manage and build relationships. And that thing follows through in the exact same process when you're going out to these government officials who are head of procurements and who are the head of the departments. Talking to them, communicating with them, and making sure that their voices are feeling heard in the rollout are extremely important. And that's something we already do and already have integrated into our culture. And in terms of these 2 extra support staff, as I mentioned earlier, these dashboards and predictive analytics technologies have already been completely developed. They're already ready to go. So we just need 2 people to actually be a lifeline for when these bikes do need that maintenance, or these police forces do need someone to call, for them to just facilitate the work being done. But it's very, very already much ingrained in BIC's culture as an organization to be client first, and the government is just another client.
And just to add on to that, we know that currently you have 6 B2B clients, and the amount of effort that takes to acquire the 7th one is quite a lot. You asked about the culture, the sales culture and change management internally within the company, now that we're going for these B2B government contracts. Having worked on multiple different past government contracts, what's different about them is that they're very sticky. You establish them once and they keep coming back again and again. And so in terms of the sales culture, what's going to really change now is you'll have 2 people that are dedicated to handle this different type of a sales funnel that is not the regular B2B sales funnel. And the culture that will come out of that is that now you have diversified revenue sources and you aren't reliant on a single revenue source as a business.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, team. You highlighted the fact that developing the product would be fast because we have already the means, or the BEQ has already the means to both get the right materials and produce the product that we are looking for here. That said, as a brand within the market, its establishment, its acknowledgement is relatively limited, as you highlight as well. How do you propose to mitigate the risk that a competitor may just be faster or more efficient positioning in this market?
It's a great call out that we actually have to get to market as fast as we possibly can, because this is such a prime opportunity. And the reason why we believe BIC is perfect for this compared to a big competitor is we know that they have the ability to customize products, as mentioned multiple times in the case. We understand that they have a ton of researchers who can quickly internalize wants and requirements from clients figure out a way to introduce that into our production line and spin it out in a pretty rapid rate. The way that we've projected this out in terms of the financials is getting our first client sale in around 9 months. So that provides a long leeway for us to secure that first government contract, figure out internally what specific product specifications we have to change that Aiden already walked us through. And in terms of the suppliers that are going to give us those products, we know that our existing relationships with suppliers can provide those products already. So we know that this is something that we can execute fast, but it is something that we have to actually implement because it's such an important opportunity before a competitor takes it.
Thank you.
Well, thank you also for your presentation. Very enthusiastic, very optimistic, and building on the risk question from my colleague. I would like you to briefly present what are the key, I would say, risks or key challenges that you see, and how you plan to mitigate those as you're trying to enter these new markets.
Yeah, I can take this. So we touched on the first one in the presentation, which is the policy and funding constraints. I'll maybe touch on the second and the third one since they weren't really covered in the presentation. So firstly, on servicing and uptime, EMS fleets don't have breaks. They don't really sleep. They're always running. And we know that e-bikes do have a limit. We know that the range is 60 to 100 kilometers, and that batteries might also die over time. So to address that key issue, we've already thought about it with using the specific E850 bike that has hot swappable batteries, and so that we can fix that issue. And then with the key data insights that we have, we can fix the uptime concern. On the third risk we see here of over-concentration on this business might lead to dependence of Beak on this specific business line to expand B2C. That is a very valid concern. The way we think about this is the marketing campaign that we're deploying is still trying to insert Beak into the minds of the average customer. And so over time, what we think we can do with this strategy is once that they trust the brand, being able to directly sell to them becomes exponentially easier because now they know about Beak. They've seen it around their cities. And so we think that that risk can be fully mitigated by then fueling more of the B2C strategy, which might be a bit more mid to mass market.
Thank you.
So thank you. In relation with the first risk in terms of funding, did you consider any alternatives or policies because you are somehow expanding the scope of services that BIC provides to OEM in terms of repetition within the services to the EMS? Did you consider also BIC in terms of the funding and the financing of these acquisitions from the government as well?
So just to clarify, your question is alternative financing options in terms of how the government could actually purchase the bike?
Yes.
Yeah, so we see that right now there's a ton of money being pooled into retrofitting their fleet in the EMS space. There's also going to be different structures that they might actually want in terms of having a leasing structure. Maybe they're also going to want to have different subsidies because we can also get some tax subsidies because these are more eco-friendly than their existing option. So we see that there's actually not that big of a barrier to get them to spend. We just have to give them the right product. And we see the way that we've sort of mitigated this is by introducing this sort of maintenance and constant providing them with this data that diversifies revenue away from just the bike sales themselves, but create recurring revenue, which we know based on research that the government is okay spending. They'd rather spend on OPEX than CAPEX. And so we've tried to mitigate that in terms of the way that we structured this.
Just one quick small add-on. As you can see on this slide, we've also modeled out how much does the EMS fleet save by not spending money on fuel. And we think that that, as part of the sales proposition, also helps them fund the idea better as well.
I am the decision maker of your case. Why should I buy a BIC instead of a scooter?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. Let's just go to a competitors map. So various different competitors. These are mainly direct to consumer competitors, but some of them are expanding into Lime scooters. But the important thing to call out is that none of these bike companies are actually going direct to the government and actually looking to make those government contracts. The importance of a bike is that not only is it more beneficial for the person that's actually riding the bike, you actually have to do a little bit of work, save a little bit more time, but it's also important because it can actually hold all of the equipment that you need. As the police fleet needs various different equipment, so does emergency first responders. We need that AED specifically on that bike, and scooters simply do not offer that physical infrastructure for you to be able to carry those different equipment.
A suit is a great purchase, though, in case you don't want to buy one.
I disagree. I love my bikes.
If possible, I would like you to explore a little bit more about the Netherlands case study. I think this is critical for us to see the feasibility.
Definitely.
Not only in Spain, but onwards.
Yeah, certainly. So within the Netherlands, they actually did a case study. They actually partnered with Ries and Muller to have 200 plus police bikes added to their fleet. Now keep in mind that they were actually able to sort of have a higher speed limit because of the fact that these are e-bikes. They transitioned from 25 kilometers per hour to 45 kilometers per hour because of how important police bikes are, and we believe that B can also do the same thing and go above that speed limit should it be needed. And what we saw was a 50% reduction in response times to emergencies in various different clustered zones. And this is super, super critical because through our research, we also saw that around 10% of municipal Dutch polices could not get to these emergency situations in under 15 minutes. And that is very, very critical, especially considering that someone's life could be in danger or someone is actually at risk of potentially dying. And therefore, because of these reductions in speed times in these different cities, it's important to have ways to get through all of that traffic very, very fast, or even get through non-car zones very, very quickly. And bikes are the best way for you to be able to do that. And the Netherlands has proven that as a fact.
Thank you.
Let us picture that, given that we are dealing with the government, things take more time than we were anticipating. Let's say 1 year, 2 years more. Have you anticipated the impact that it could have on your strategy?
Yeah, I could take this question and maybe let in the remaining time. 1 minute left. Here we go. So what we see is, I think it's a calculation of trade-offs. You can spend and roll out products faster B2C, but have less stickiness and a much harder time trying to capture the bigger segment. What we see, and we've done extensive analysis on the lead times of a lot of these contracts and these processes, a lot of them max out at 8 to 12 months of like a full end-to-end getting a new EMS client signed on. And the key thing is it's a one-time investment to be fully regulated with the Rolesco kind of certification. And once you're certified, you can just keep getting more and more clients, and you skip the initial 8-month phase of actually getting regulated in the first place. So we think that upfront, yes, there is time to be involved, but as the government keeps fluctuating in timelines, we know that you have so many potential clients you can be going to once you're just certified that one time. So it's a one-time investment for a much bigger, more profitable segment versus a B2C strategy.
Your time is now up for the Q&A. Thank you, judges. You can now move on to the side room, and where someone from IT will meet you to get the mics off. Thank you.
Take the head.
Okay.
Oh my God.
All right, everyone, are we ready for second team? Okay, so let me now introduce our team number 2 from the University of New South Wales. You can come on in, guys.
Okay, Alyssa, clicker's not working. We need someone to be on the thing.
Okay, so hi everyone again. You all already know this, but my name is Mariana and I'm going to be the room host for the FEP U.Porto ICC 2025 finals. And here's my colleague Mafalda, who'll be your timekeeper for today. So the session will proceed as follows. After a brief presentation of the judges, the team will have a 15-minute presentation period. My colleague Mafalda will show you a sign when there's 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and 1 minute left in your presentation. Please keep in mind that once the time is up, you're allowed to finish your answer, and no more than that. After that, you will have a 15-minute Q&A period where my colleague will show you the exact same slides. Now, once again, a note for the audience, please refrain from reacting during the presentation or the Q&A period. So may I now ask our distinguished judges to introduce themselves, please?
Hello, Bruno Salgado, board from RTE and BIC.
Hello, pleasure to be with you guys today. My name is Lucas, I'm from Bain Company.
Good afternoon, team. Best of luck in the presentation. I'm Laura Fernandes from Natixis.
Afternoon all, thank you for being here. My name is Francisco Fontoura from UI. Very interested to hear your case.
Okay, thank you, judges. Team, are you ready to begin?
Yeah.
Well, good luck. The timer will start when you start speaking.
For the past 40 years, you've built European bikes with precision, passion, and pride. And 5 years ago, you've created your own brand, BIC, to test out what innovation truly looks like. But today, we're not here to look back because BIC stands at a critical point where we'll define their future. Good morning, my name's David. I'm joined by Megan, Alyssa, and Harrison. And judges, today we want you to sit back and relax as we guide you along the next 15 minutes as you join us on the ride where we figure out the path for the future. We anchor analysis on 3 key things. Firstly, we look into what's truly blocking our growth. Second, we define where to play. And lastly, how do we win? And we answer the question of how can we scale beyond Portugal to win in Spain first and expand in Europe markets in the next 5 years? And the answer is clear. We go big or we go home. Where Alyssa and Megan will dive deeper with you on the physical network needed and how do we win customer trust in those markets. And the impact speaks for itself. We see a revenue uplift as well as additional bikes sold. But how can we do that? It's to leverage your competitive advantage. We see that you already scaled a global brand. You Portuguese build and European-grade quality, as well as your factory agility, as well as your end-to-end logistic, allows you to have foundational where other competitors won't have. But today, what is blocking the growth? Brand clarity. We see that currently we're talking to everyone where no one that we truly connect deeply to. Meanwhile, in the external environment, competition's rising, consumer expecting more, and lastly, the shift in the market starts happening. So today, the analysis will answer 2 key things where we guide forward, where to play and how to win. We first look into where to play.
To understand that truly, we need to understand deeply who are our e-bike customers. We map across the e-bike customers the four fundamental motivations, why they buy e-bike in the first place. We see that there's health, there's time, there's an environment, and there's leisure. And currently, BEAC spreads across all four. But to win in any market first, we need to have a narrow focus, and we'll expand later down the line. So let's take a look at time and environment first. They sound attractive, but they're not the strategic priority for now because competition is intense and customer demand better different things. Instead, we figure out the biggest opportunity lies in the intersection of health and leisure, where it grows into a new market called wellness and lifestyle. And here we see that there's a huge opportunity for BEAC to position themselves, where we can empower everyday individuals to be the healthiest version of themselves. And with that in mind, specifically, we look into who are the customer persona in this region. They are the 45 to 60 years old active ager. They are the ones that spend the most, have the highest willingness to pay, and we see that the three core reasons why we believe this is the right market to tap into, because the market is growing, because we see that there's potential to align with BEAC's brand, and lastly, we see that this particular segment led through community-led growth, meaning that we scale our awareness very cost efficiently, as well as in a very referral base. So, next slide, please. So with that in mind, we understand that where to play, but the next question is, how do we win in that market? We see that we look outwards across industry reports and global leaders. We see that winning brands prioritize four key factors. First of all, they prioritize B2C-led approach to a new market. They understand that physical experience is the most critical point to determine whether a person buys bikes or not. We know that community-led growth is extremely important in that segment. And lastly, they take a hybrid marketing approach across online and offline. With that in mind, we evaluate across the key different strategies. We see that, for example, B2B fleet management, it's easy because it requires less effort, but actually sways away the very core reason BEAC was created in the first place, was to be in the front line, understanding the customer, get the feedback, and then fuse back into the innovative product. B2B does not allow that to happen. With that in mind, the four key strategy that makes us successful is that we prioritize B2C first before B2B, and then we have a community-led growth with a strong physical touch point in their experience, and lastly, with a hybrid marketing engine. With that in mind, how can we continue paddling forward into the future for BEAC, Megan?
Thanks, David. Judges, the only path forward is for you to go big or go home. As we ride with BEAC into their next stage of growth, we will succeed and win by leveraging our D2C line. Secondly, by integrating our network of services and retail. And finally, expanding our brand trust and awareness within the European market to help further growth. Our winning strategy reimagines BEAC as a brand that cares about you. As a result, we want to really leverage the fact that we're reimagining what cycling means to truly empower and energize you as a person. And BEAC is here to help you chase your adventures one pedal at a time. We recognize here the benefits of using flagship stores, given they are the physical embodiment of a brand's culture and identity. Seen through two case studies of North Face and Gentle Monster, really leveraging this approach as a means of establishing what their business is at their very core. BEAC should do the same, adopting a flagship store within Madrid, given the high uptake of urban cycling within that area in particular. Let's look at what the features of the flagship store include. We want to incorporate half of the store attributed to an exhibition space to showcase BEAC's urban category bikes, to really tap into and target the urban customer segment in particular. We also recognized that BEAC comes from RTE and they have incredible expertise within OEM and the manufacturing space as well. So why not leverage that within part of your brand identity with wall decor and designs showing the history of RTE to reflect this in particular? What's the benefit? You can gain significant trust here because you're able to show customers your deep expertise within manufacturing, translating into high-quality bikes that are made to last. Moving further, we want to incorporate the Beak Academy in particular as a means of educational campaigns that assist in encouraging customers to optimize their experience with Beak. Then we also have the Beak Cafe to help customers take a step back and relax as they browse the Beak store as well, with wellness food and beverages designed to really meet and portray Beak's new brand identity within wellness. Finally, it's important for Beak to establish a clear community here embedded within health and wellness, with these community events in partnership with health and fitness brands, really to replicate this, which occur monthly and are free to attend as well. We have partnerships and events such as meditation with Pura Mente or even wellness rides as well. Then it's important to expand the network for your suppliers and retailers to increase the accessibility of your bikes overall. We do this through targeting independent bike retailers because of their intimate customer relationships they're able to develop as well, providing quarterly training to ensure they're able to communicate Beak's value add, as well as also incentivizing them by giving them exclusive launches to Beak products 6 days in advance to gain that competitive edge. For manufacturers, for maintenance, we also want to provide that similar support and ongoing support. So Alyssa, now that we have the flagship store, how do we really expand?
Thanks, Megan. So the next step to drive Beak's brand image forward towards its success are 3 key marketing strategies: partnerships, expos, and online campaigns. So first, let's look at how the partnerships will work. We recommend Beak start looking into the 2 types of companies shown above. Firstly, cycling tour operators, mainly focusing on the urban city mobility tours. So imagine this: thousands of people are riding your Beak bikes throughout the city. Isn't that a great way to show visibility of your company and also increasing that social proof? Secondly, looking at the hotels and resorts. This is to really position Beak as a wellness and also leisure brand. So how will this partnership work? So Beak will provide a leasing model to these different partners and also having a stable recurring revenue stream additionally. And also providing different infrastructure like charging, team, sales support, and also maintenance. So next, let's look at the case study of Bicello, which is an e-bike company who have successfully entered towards the hospitality industry through partnering and leasing to increase the brand visibility. So next, let's look at the second thing, expos. The one key thing to note here is scale. Looking at a Shimano Bike Expo at Spain, it has 68,000 users who are attending these different expos, so we can really see that you can have a highly targeted total addressable market in this particular event. So next, let's look at how we can do the online presence. Firstly, looking at 3 key things, looking at the YouTube campaigns to truly embody Beak's brand image and come across it to the different customer segments that you have and ensure that we are communicating Beak's brand story. And then from that branding image, we will let it flow on to the online presence like the websites and also the physical stores as well. But of course, with strategies, you need key enablers. 2 things. Firstly is the key additional personnel hires across the flagship stores and also the sales team here in Portugal to reach out to the clients and also the retail networks. Next, looking at the fleet management, because we are deploying the fleets to different partners, we look at the 3 main things such as contracts and also the different fleet location registry. So after this, where can we really expand? In Spain. Looking at the heat map in Spain of the bike infrastructure and also the different sales and the bicycle uptakes, we see a lot of different cities in Spain being able to, for Beak to be able to enter into. So from 2026, looking at 6 retail partners up till 2030 to up till 30 different retail partners across the Spanish region. Okay, so we answered the first question. How can we expand into Spain? The second question is, what other European markets are most viable for Beak to enter into? We look at 2 main buckets of criteria. Firstly, market attractiveness, and secondly, the ability for Beak to win. These 2 key buckets will allow us to really see which geography has the highest potential of Beak to enter into. So now zooming out, looking at the market criteria, we saw Germany as the first ranked, secondly France, and finally Netherlands. So Germany, why Germany? 3 key things. Firstly, it has the largest e-bike adoption and sales by volume. Secondly, looking at the government backing, also having a lot of sustainable mobility incentives. And finally, having a lot of different bicycle giants, meaning that it is a mature ecosystem, perfect for Beak to enter into.
So looking at the final phase of how we can expand throughout the whole European region, after we expanded the Spanish model, we looked at two main things. Firstly, we looked at how we can truly expand and market research into the companies and also what consumers demand. And secondly, looking at where and how we can truly enter through the physical retailers and also the flagship stores. So after this, through our ride strategy, you can sit back, relax, and enjoy your ride to success. So Harrison, how do we implement our strategy?
Thanks, Alyssa. To take a step back, let's see how we can implement your winning strategy and allow Beak to roll ahead of the curve. Firstly, it's most important to look at your flagship store, look at finding the right location, leasing and putting your deposit down before you start ideating with your architects to find the way to build your ideal experience with customers and begin installations to have your store ready by halfway through 2026. Next, we think it's quite important to begin discussions with your physical retailers and your service centers. And here, a must-win is to have 9 organizations joined by 2026. And lastly, we want to build out your additional firepower to your sales team by hiring more members, as well as building out your corporate partnership funnel. And this looks at a short-term win of having 30 fleets signed on by the end of 2027. As key success factors, we have 2 KPIs here to help measure success. Firstly, the number of community members who have signed onto your mailing list and attend at least one event per year. And also secondly, the number of bikes sold, which will help you test and see how your conversion rates increase over time. And so what are your steps tomorrow? We put 3 things here. Firstly, you want to identify the right place for your Madrid store. Secondly, I want you to reach out to these retailers and service centers to start early commitments. And lastly, just finalize your job description so you can find new workers to join your sales team as soon as possible. And so with all great strategies, there comes a risk, and these we've carefully considered. The most important risk identified here is your flagship store. And whilst we budgeted 3 to 5 months to prepare for planning and to find the winning components of what your flagship store needs, we also think this time you can do some market research with street interviews, as well as doing pop-ups to have partnerships with wellness brands to identify if there's appetite for this new brand in Spain. And we identified from our research that Spain has a 61 billion market for wellness and wealth, which is 3 times the size in Portugal, and therefore it presents a strong business case. And so as we speed around the corner, we're super excited to present you the impacts of our strategy. And the results are quite clear. Our revenue would generate 19.3 million euros by 2030, representing a 63% CAGR in growth. And we see this driven by additional brand awareness and higher community engagement. And so next on costs, we see that we've adopted more of a capital-light structure, looking at leasing out your flagship store and building your physical network. And the costs we see are pointing to 362,000 capex, which we're happy to talk through in Q&A. And so next, taking a look back at the big picture, our strategy breaks even in 2029 and reaps 7.4 million euros in cash flow and reaps a positive 46% IRR and a 1.5 times ROI. And so taking a step back, our strategy not only charts the path forward for Beak, but electrifies the presence on the international stage. And so judges, whilst your ride with us today has unfortunately come to its destination, your next chapter is just around the corner. So together, it's time to go further, go faster, and go big. Thank you, and we now open the floor to Q&A.
Thank you, team. So the judges can begin the Q&A whenever you're ready. The timer will start when you start speaking.
Well, thank you, Tim, for the presentation and for your insights. In terms of strategy, and especially on the risks involving in implementing the strategy, can you expand further and whether you considered other alternatives to a flagship store when you're just entering the market?
Yeah, absolutely. If we can turn to the risk mitigation slide. So definitely we think there are implementation risks that can be mitigated, considered when rolling out to a new market. So we understand that right now, Beak is at a transition point where it needs to expand to a new market to bring on its new brand. And so we think that with expanding to a flagship store, definitely can be a bit of risk. And so we mentioned that there can be some market research conducted by having people sort of tend the streets and go to have some expos and to see there's a demand for having a leisure ex-wellness brand. And so additional strategies we also consider having is like pop-ups and partnering with brands early. So as part of that corporate partnership model, when you're looking at hotels and touring groups, perhaps finding partnerships with health brands earlier on and bringing the products with the Beak bikes and testing that in Spain is one way to test the market and see whether we can then build out. I think for that, we can then look at the number of customers coming into the pop-up stores who want to try for a test ride, and those will be some metrics to see whether there's an appetite to go into Spain as a potential sort of strategy there.
Did you consider any alternative channels to the, you focus a lot on channels related to the bicycle business. Didn't you consider any alternative channel?
Yup. Let me take on that first. We've also considered going full on to the online store. We understand that in the digital era, everyone buys online. But when we take a step back at understanding e-bike personas, 40% of users try your bike in person. That leads to conversion. We understand that physical is a big aspect in buying the e-bike decision because it's not just a fast product, it's a 5-year-long or 5+-year-long product. So the physical aspect is very important, and that's why we didn't go full on with the online channel selling. We want to stick with the roots, stick with the physical aspect, and really leverage that hit home.
And just to add on to that, with the new branding that Beak is providing, we want to make sure that our customer touchpoint is physical in person rather than website, in order to showcase the new community events we have, as well as the branding and offering of us providing health and wellness. When customers come into the flagship store, experience the new layout, come to the cafe, sit down, attend the workshops, and see for themselves what Beak is truly about. And so therefore, we wanted to really dive in onto having that B2C model rather than going to online.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim, for the presentation. Maybe one question around the actual models. So do you perceive there to be one other specific model from the BIC's fleet that should be prioritized in the market position versus another?
Yeah, we see that actually in the company tour, that within the urban segment, for example, the E-class is the best-selling class within the urban cycling. And then we want to probably focus really narrow down on 1 to 5 key SKUs first before launching out all the products. And we understand that this is an iterative process, and we want to really test it out with market research and see the Spain appetite first.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for the presentation. You focused on health and wellness segment, and a provocative question: why e-bikes over traditional bikes for this segment?
Yeah, because we also understand that who are our core target audience. It's the 45 to 60 years old that's active aging group. And we understand that e-bikes is the future for them, and they have the highest willingness to spend. Despite the traditional bike, we see that there bears actually a lot of health risk in that sense. Maybe there's some injuries and stuff, but we see that to truly position ourselves in that industry, we want to push out the e-bikes as well.
And so just to add on quickly, we've seen across the industry, personas across the market, elderly or young, are switching from push bikes to e-bikes. As we've seen into Beak's also RTE's production of OEM, the contracts are now shifted from pure traditional push bikes to now 50%, half traditional bikes and half e-bikes. So I think that sort of design on the manufacturing end reflects the market demand for e-bikes, and therefore we think our push to health and leisure will do well in that segment.
Thank you.
I have a follow-up question on that. Is it, in terms of the business to business, are you guys actually selling to them, or your partnership with them to get brand visibility?
Yep, happy to take that. Oh, was the question regarding the partnerships?
Yeah, is it partnerships, or are you actually selling to the hotels the bikes?
Yes. So in terms of the partnership, to make it clear, it is currently a leasing model, but also it is on addition to really help improve the brand visibility of the business, because these two key things are the main things that are driving the brand visibility and also to increase the market awareness. So how this leasing model works is that there will be a long-term contract with these different partners, and they will pay a fee to us, and in turn we also have different maintenance schedules and providing infrastructure to them, such as staff training to ensure that these different staff knows how to use a Beak bike, and of course the charging infrastructure as well.
Thank you.
So in terms of the pricing, and how was that factored in your model and in your financial analysis?
Yeah, so how do you talk about the pricing? So we head to the financial slides. Okay, so appendix. So I have to get started. So basically what we've taken is the approach, given us in the case brief, where we looked at the average price of urban bikes to be about 2,200 euros. So that was the price segment we started to look at. And obviously, as we evolve over time, I think the price in the bike would evolve depending on what models we bring in. And so for now, we forecasted 2,200 euros as the bike price point. And so we took that as increasing over time. So you go to the previous page. And so we took our revenue stream from three main areas. One, the flagship store, which was the biggest driver in the early periods. Then your independent bike stores, which will grow in revenue as you have more retailers as part of your network. And lastly, will be e-commerce revenue from customers joining onto the website, increasing revenue. And so over time, we see that the increase in number of bikes sold goes from 0.5,000 in the first year to 6,100. And so we just multiply that by the number of the price of the bike. And we also added in additional accessory spend with approximately 60% of customers buying accessories, about 150 euros per bike. And so we added into a revenue stream. And for the leasing model, we took a lease model about 500 euros a bike, which we saw was below the market rate in Spain, which sits around 600 to 900 euros per bike. And we thought that by having this model, we're more likely to win over our corporate partners and have them sign on with us. And as Alyssa mentioned, the partnership model works both ways as a brand awareness and also a revenue stream. And so we also intend to have these hotels and cycling groups display our flyers of community events. And that way we can continue to expand our customer base and attract more people in through word of mouth by seeing the brand visibility and potentially just having it on the streets of Spain.
Thank you.
I have a question. Did you guys consider any other add-ons on the sales, like any kind of insurance and kind of additional things that we could actually bundle and sell together with the bikes in Spain?
I think in our model at the moment, we haven't considered other auxiliary services, but there is definitely opportunity to bring on insurance and other services. I think at the moment, we've still taken an approach where in the partnerships, we are already potentially selling additional sort of health and wellness features through some monthly community events. And so as an additional way to add more revenue, potentially you can add on insurance. I think that is a growing market in sort of Europe. And so then definitely that could be a plan perhaps for the next phase.
I think just adding on to Harrison as well, in terms of expansion into the Spanish market and the European market as a result of that, we recognize that we want to have a sharpened brand image in particular. Having a bundled package, for example, wouldn't communicate the same brand image as having a flagship store, which really embodies health and wellness at its core. Therefore, we recognize maybe in the future, as a means of having increased revenue stream, we could adopt more bundled packages. However, in the interest of penetrating new markets, it's important to establish a core brand image, and thus our strategy does that.
Thank you.
In addition to the risk that the flagship store could underperform, there is also the risk that the brand itself may not position as successfully as you anticipate versus competitors established in the market. I'm not sure if your market analysis showed that or not, but there is rivalry and competition in between Portugal and Spain. How do you anticipate that risk and how do you mitigate it within your strategy?
Yep, of course. I'm more than happy to get started on it, and then one of my teammates will jump in as well. In terms of understanding the segments, as much as we recognize that off the back of David's analysis, which clearly shows the competitive landscape, another additional factor is, specifically with the health and wellness space, the primary competitors more so shift towards the stationary bikes you use when you want to work out, for example, at gyms, when it comes to that kind of stationary bike health and wellness sphere. Therefore, BIG has a really clear positioning here to capture a significant market share because they really carve into this niche and they're able to outperform the competitors like Peloton, for example, which mainly position themselves as a bike that helps in the fitness route as well.
And also, just to add on quickly, we point to the industry data we see in the case brief. We saw that in Europe, there's about 267,000 imports of bikes. 267,000 exports of bike and 860,000 imports of bike, meaning that customers in Europe don't particularly have a preference towards brands and are more likely to switch between brands. And so that because the focus is on international providers of bike, by positioning ourselves as an international producer, from Portugal to Spain, we think there is a likely uptake of customers who will likely buy bikes in Spain.
Thank you.
So just another question. In terms of growth and the financial analysis, it seems to be a wonderful business. But what about the risk around that? And did you perform any kind of sensitivity analysis of that?
Yeah, so happy to talk about the risk of the strategy. So I think the biggest risk, if we go to the cost line, is the sort of capital expenditure cost. So we think that understand that although the strategy does take a leasing model, it is still quite a significant spend in the first year. So looking at capex of about 0.9 million and also total cost of 2.4 million euros. And so this can be quite expensive for the strategy because capital costs will keep going up as you develop the flagship store. However, we need to take a look at the flagship store's development of 362,000. We think we can wrap this down to 200,000 depending on what elements you want to bring in. And instead of it having developed in the first case, you can have that phased out across the 2 years of your flagship store. Additionally, most of that capex also comes from developing your fleet for your corporate partnerships. And so if you identify the capex spend is too much and is not financially viable, you can cut back on the leasing fleet because that isn't a core revenue driver, but rather more of a brand awareness driver. And so if the strategy itself is sort of falling behind and some contingencies, we can cut back on the fleeting model. Instead of going for 30 in the end of 2027, you can half that and hit 15 groups targeted by the end of 2027.
Thank you.
I can ask a tricky one. Huh? There's a differential in terms of taxes when you buy bikes from Portugal and when you buy bikes from Spain. If I have my flagship store in Spain, would not have like a disincentive for people to actually buy in Spain and come to Portugal and buy from me in Portugal?
Yeah, absolutely. So the strategy expanding to Spain right now we think is strongest led by a flagship store, but eventual goal as we expand across Europe is to have a flagship model store in each of the countries we're in. So the moment we've expanded to Spain, we see that it's a new market, it's a new opportunity to rebrand BIG. Given BIG has been operational for the last 5 years in Portugal, we think that by jumping on this opportunity, this small gap of window, we can establish to see how a flagship store will perform. And so although right now across the next 5 years, there's a flagship store there, with our expansion plan to Germany and France, we see that if we're doing better than forecasted, having higher revenue, then we can start building flagship stores in other countries. And so the priority there will be to obviously put a flagship store in Portugal, where the brand comes from, and is therefore associating that image with a Portugal brand rather than people buying just in Spain. But for now, because the store is in Spain, we do want more customers there as part of our expansion plan.
Thank you.
All right, judges, are we done with our questions? Yeah? Okay, so thank you for your presentation, team. Good luck. You can go on to the side and get your mics off, and you can come back to watch the next team. We're going to give the judges some time to deliberate, and then the next team will come in.
I was wishing it's overnight. The minute I was thinking to hold you back. The moment I was wishing it's overnight. The minute I was thinking to hold you back. The moment I was wishing it's overnight. The minute I was thinking to hold you back. The moment I was wishing it's overnight. Slow down, never. I know now, I know better. I need it more than ever. Go back harder, hold that I fall on the track. It's all I've said and done over now. The minute I was thinking to hold you back. The moment I was wishing it's overnight. The minute I was thinking to hold you back. The moment I was wishing it's overnight. The minute I was thinking to hold you back. The moment I was wishing it's overnight. The minute I was thinking to hold you back. The moment I was wishing it's overnight. It's overnight. The minute I was thinking to hold you back. The moment I was wishing. The minute I was thinking to hold you back. The moment I was wishing it's overnight.
Okay, everyone, so our third team is ready. So we can welcome the John Molson team onto the stage. Okay, team. So once again, my name is Mariana, and I'm going to be the room host for the FEP U.Porto ICC 2025 finals. Over there is my colleague Mafalda. She'll be your timekeeper for today. So the session will proceed as follows. After a brief presentation of the judges, the team is allowed to start presenting. Your presentation period will be 15 minutes long, and my colleague will show you a sign when there's 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and 1 minute left in your presentation. Please keep in mind that once the time is up, you're allowed to finish your sentence and no more than that. After the presentation, you will have a 15-minute Q&A where my colleague will still give you the same signs that she gave you in the initial presentation. Once again, a note for our audience, please refrain from any reactions during the presentation or Q&A period. So now, judges, can you please introduce yourselves?
Thank you, team. Thank you for your time and sharing your insights with us. My name is Nuno Figueiredo from Deloitte.
Hello, everybody. My name is Bruno Salgado from RTE and BIC.
Hi, nice meeting you all. Best of luck. I'm Lucas from Bain Company.
Best of luck in your presentation, team. I'm Laura Fernandes from Natixis.
Hi, thank you all. Francisco Fontoura from EY.
All right, team, are you ready to begin? Good luck. The timer will start when you start speaking.
Every day, we spend a lot more money on our commute than we realize, whether that be through fuel, through parking, or even the time it takes to get to a place, whether that be work or home. But what if commuting didn't have to be so expensive? What if it could be smarter, more efficient, cost you less, and also be environmentally friendly? Well, with BIC, it can. You can save up to 495 euros a month. That's basically 4 Mercadona trips. BIC, that's the vision we have for you when you're going to be entering the Spanish market. Your unique selling proposition is that you are smart to own, fun to ride, and built to last. Good morning, judges and audience members. My name is Noé, and I'm here joined with my colleagues Zoe, Alexandre, and Shelby. And together, we are Compass Consulting. We are here today to position you as a promising new brand into a recognized name across Europe. For this, we have identified 3 key considerations that really drove our recommendation, specifically who you are as a brand, who your consumer is, and what market you should be going into. And this really drove our recommendation, Built to Last, Made Next Door, a 3-phase strategy where we really drive your unique selling proposition, the fact that you are smart to have, fun to ride, and built to last.
Now, Beek, when we visited your offices this week, what we realized is that you take a lot of pride in your biking, your manufacturing as well. We noticed this through the cleanliness of the whole operations, and also that your bikes were very fun to ride. So we kept that in mind throughout our whole strategy. But Zoe, can you walk us through the thought process that brought us there?
Absolutely. Thank you, Noe. So we want to frame our analysis today by answering 4 key questions. The first key question we want to answer was, how is the e-bike industry currently in Spain? Well, we know that there's high potential, but it's highly competitive and trust-driven. We took a look at the EU market overall. We know there was a drop-off in 2023, but since then it has regained traction with about an 8% CAGR. And Spain has followed suit with the same trajectory. However, in Spain it's even more competitive overall, with high pressures on prices, and you have low engagement, meaning that you have low brand loyalty. You have actually 2% of your sales outside of Portugal, meaning that there's low brand awareness abroad, meaning that you, even more than before, need to gain the trust of your consumer to be able to succeed in new markets. Overall, Spain is a great opportunity for you, but you must utilize a trust-first entry strategy to succeed in this new market. Which leads us to our second question. What market segment should you actually be going into? To determine this, we looked at 6 key criteria: market size, revenue potential, brand visibility, sales cycle, customer experience, and market risks, which led us to determine that B2C is the best one for you. Why is that? Because it offers you the most brand awareness and the most direct-to-consumer opportunities, pricing power with higher margins and more reoccurring purchases, and more scalability throughout Spain. But you must be asking yourself, why not B2B? Because B2B has the most concentration when it comes to competitors. On top of that, most of the biggest companies in Spain already have strong partnerships with e-bike providers, like tourism companies, hotels, and corporate offices. With the scale that you are right now, the low brand awareness that you have in Spain, it's going to take you a lot of time, money, and overall effort to be able to gain that bid that you would need to have. So right now, we believe you should focus on the B2C model, which leads us to our third question. What consumer segment should you go into? Well, we outlined 3 main ones: the young professional, the families, and the senior cyclist. Through our analysis, we determined that the young professional is the best option for you because nearly half of them are more willing to buy an e-bike today than they ever were before. When it comes to the families, why not? It's because they have the highest purchasing resistance. And lastly, senior cyclists, over 65% of this group is simply uninterested in bicycling. So going forward into Spain, you should focus on the young professionals, which leads us to our last and final question. What has been stopping that 60% of consumers that are trying our bikes but aren't purchasing? And how can we prevent that from happening to Paula and Alex, a young professional in Spain? Well, price sensitivity and low perceived benefits are the main barriers to purchase. In actuality, 63% of buyers cite the ease to commute and the cost savings as their main reasons to buy. But close to 60% of Spanish consumers cite the high price of your e-bikes as the main reason they don't want to purchase, with 40% of them not able to see the incremental value or benefit that it brings to them on a day-to-day basis. So what does this mean for you, RTE and Beek? Well, your monthly payments aren't enough anymore to push that consumer to buy. You must show the full benefit of your bike and how it impacts not only their year, but their day-to-day life. And with that, we've determined how you can enter Spain successfully through B2C by targeting young professionals and by utilizing a trust-first entry strategy. But how do you go beyond that? Now, we identified criteria RT should use to push Beek's expansion throughout the EU. We identified market attractiveness, mobile readiness, competitive landscape, and operational feasibility. And through our analysis, we determined that Belgium is the best offering for you. Now, Shelby, how can we bike into Spain?
Absolutely. Thank you, Zoe. Which is why I'm proud to present our strategy, Built to Last, Made Next Door, where we'll be promoting Beek's brand awareness across Europe, starting in Spain. In phase 1, we'll be talking about your go-to-market expansion in Spain and showing Alex and Paula exactly why they're smart to own. In phase 2, Noe's going to walk you through why they're so fun to ride. And in phase 3, we're looking at a long-term lens of expansion beyond Spain because Beek, you're built to last. Now, for phase 1, we think it's vital to place yourself in these specialized dealers in order to build trust. Consumers buy from brands that they trust, but you currently aren't well known, so you don't have that trust with them yet, which is why we recommend going with these specialized dealers in Madrid and Barcelona to have that trust from their expertise with you. We're going to look at these 3 key criteria of popularity, proximity to city center, as well as their current offerings to see and judge how they align with your current offerings. And why is this going to work? Now, we took a look at Ries & Müller, which is a German e-bike brand that sold solely through specialized dealers. Because just like a car dealership, you need to give consumers the opportunity to test their investment, which is why we think this will work great for you. Next, through the consideration phase, we recommend using your very own Hugo to go to these stores to help enable these sales reps at these stores to sell them. We think by sending Hugo just for a day or two to shadow these employees so that they know your unique selling proposition, as well as helping with their sales pitches, as well as any objections, this is how you're gonna set up these specialized dealers for success. Next, the conversion phase. Zoe brought up that there are 60% of test riders who don't convert after their riding. Now, we really want to drive home on this and anticipate their questions on an individual basis by looking at this simple dashboard that Hugo will walk the reps through, and it's just a simple Excel sheet to look at an individual level how expensive their current commute is versus how much they can save with Beak. Now, let's say Alex's commute is 5 kilometers each way, so 10 kilometers a day. He makes that commute 5 times a week to get to work, and then taking into account the estimated fuel price of about €1.47, as well as other fuel and maintenance costs of his current commute, you'll be able to see on a yearly and a monthly basis just how much he's spending. And then by going from your low range to even your highest range models, he'll be able to see right in front of them the value that you provide, and be able to show just why you're smart to own. Now that Alex and Paula know how they're smart to own, how are we going to show them how they're fun to ride?
Thank you, Shelby. So now phase 2 really focuses on driving the fact that your bikes are fun to ride. For that, we realized that Alex and Paula really drive their purchasing decisions based off of community and influence that is around them. So our strategy will really be focused on creating community and awareness. And for this, we would like to present the Ride to Primavera sound, which will be powered by Beak. This will be a ride that you will sponsor with around 8 Beak bikes that will be there, that will be run by brand ambassadors who will ride the Beak from the starting point to where the festival is. If we look at this, you will start at Arc de Triomphe, where all the rider clubs can join online based on what cycling club they're with. And then they go on the journey all the way to Parc del Forum, which is where the event is happening. When they get there, you will have a set-up pop-up booth there, where the 8 bikes that were driven there get to be tried out there at the event. You'll have high exposure, word of mouth, and we know that Alex and Paula's will be there to be able to know who you are as a brand. This will happen during 2028 is when we would like this to happen, because we think this will give you enough time to plan and to prepare the partnerships. Now, why we know this works is because in 2021, we know you sponsored an event with a paddle sport company in Spain, in Portugal specifically. So we know that this is something that you value and you like community engagement. But also, if we look at your 2 competitors, Cowboy and Van Moof, they also hosted these joyride events, which boosted trial and awareness of their brand specifically. Now, if you don't want to do the Primavera event, we do recommend an alternative, which is a simple joyride with an open community ride co-hosted with a cycling club in Spain. We suggest Division Cycling Club, since they're one of Barcelona's most active weekly groups, and that's where you'll find all the Alex and Paulas. Now, in terms of long-term, to really build that engagement in Spain, you also want to be embedded in their community. So we suggest ongoing commitments and ongoing partnerships with clubs. We've identified 3 clubs that we think would be potential for you based on their size, their existing partners, and what value they would bring for you. Now, on the side of this, you want to make sure that you're meeting the Alex and Paulas on their day-to-day life and what they're doing throughout their process. This is a simple marketing tactic that we know you do well in. So it'll be throughout their wild posters, what they'll see at the gyms, and also in their coffee shops. So you're there every day of the way with them. So what exactly was achieved for Alex and Paula? Where through this, you were able to show Alex and Paula that they can save 495 euros per month with the Urban High Step model, basically 4 Mercadona trips for them a month. You also showed them that they can replace their costly commute with an eco-friendly e-bike that fits their lifestyle and values as well. Now, Shelby, how do we show that they're built to last?
Absolutely, no way, thank you. So post-Spanish expansion, you asked us where you should go next, which my colleague Zoe mentioned Belgium. Now, looking at Belgium, we think you should look and take a similar go-to-market approach by building that trust through specialized dealers, of which we outlined 2, and we recommend starting with Brussels. Next, we still think community isn't Spanish specific. It's something that's going to work well in the bike community. And this is something you need to drive home in Belgium and in Brussels specifically going forward as you continue your expansion and building the trust around your brand. Now, finally, we built a 5-year timeline. The first phase is going to take up most of 2026 while you're going to market in Spain, with our phase 2 going from 2027 to 2030, and post 2030 is when you should look to expand in Belgium. Now, Alex, can you walk us through the impact of our strategy?
Thank you, Shelby. So now let's break down the Spanish market and the piece of the pie that you guys can get. So what we did, the approach we decided to take was the TAM, SAM, SUM, and we decided to take also key criteria. So now let's go back to your Alex's and Paula's. They're usually 25 to 35 years old, living in a city and commuting under 15 kilometers a day. Additionally, they have either a medium to high disposable income, as your bikes are usually on the higher range of price. Now we want to funnel it even more and take 70 basis points as your market share of Spain, mainly based on the market competitiveness, but also on case studies of similar companies in Germany. Overall, you're at 4,800 individuals that you can access in Spain. Moving into the financials of phase 1. The cost of this phase will be at 1.7 million euros, and you can achieve up to 7.2 million euros in revenues by year 3. In orders of key metrics that we want to keep track of, you will have your return on investment at 8.7%. You're going to have your payback period of 1 year, and finally, your in-store interactions of 2,300 approximately. Moving into the phase 2. As you may notice, your total revenue is significantly lower at 532,000, but this is only for the event. Additionally, I want to remind you that this whole strategy, this whole phase is about word to mouth. We want people to talk about your bike, to talk about to their friends, to their family, and just show the quality and this amazing bike that you have, and have the similar experience we had at the factory. Finally, here's the highlights of the financials of phase 1, phase 2, and overall. We want to achieve at least 7 million euros by year 3, with a number of visits of 7,500, and finally, market share of 70 basis points. Additionally, we found 3 risks and their mitigants, but we want to focus on the first one, which is the inconsistent customer experience. For this, we want to run a mystery Beek shoppers, and they will be able to evaluate the strategic fit of each partner.
Beek, you came to us today with 2 specific questions. The first one was how you'll be entering the Spanish market. For that, we identified through a B2C approach, specialized dealers, and building the trust through the dashboard that we have identified, and also the community-driven events. You also asked us where to next after Spain. Well, we identified Belgium as the go-to next. We do believe that you should be looking at next after 2030, because currently in terms of staffing, you don't have the capacity to do Spain and another country within a short time frame. In terms of criteria, we identified market attractiveness, mobility readiness, competitive landscape, and operational feasibility as the main things you should be looking at on where to go next. All in all, Beek, our strategy today was really to drive your unique selling proposition, that you are smart to have, fun to ride, and built to last. And we achieved this through our 3-phase strategy, which gives you an ROI of 8.7%, 5,000 interactions, and 7 million euros in revenue by year 3. We are Compass Consulting. Thank you for having us here today, and we now open the floor to any questions that you may have.
Thank you, team. The floor is now open for Q&A. Judges, the timer will start when you start speaking.
Congratulations. Why should we focus on young people instead of elder people once they had a lower income, and they are much more, I believe they are much more sensitive to price, as I saw in your presentation?
Absolutely. If we could go to the next one, please. So I highlighted before, through our analysis, that they're the most willing to purchase these bikes currently, and we're talking about the Spanish market, not the Portuguese market. Although they may have a lower income per household than the families have less disposable income than these individuals, as they don't have the children, because we're assuming in this scenario about 1 to 2 children as per the average in Spain. And lastly, why not the seniors? Simply because in Spain, there's not an interest in cycling nor e-cycling, both for security reasons, and it's not a part of their daily habits.
So you considered in terms of channels to go through specialized retailers, and how do you plan to establish those relationships with the specialized retailers, and what part of the pie will be with the specialized retailer rather than with big?
Absolutely. So in terms of the specialized retailers, retailers will hold your bikes and your brand if they know that consumers want it. Since they do get a commission from that, they get a royalty fee from that. So for that, we really want to drive who you are as a brand for customers, where they go. So the incentive for these retailers is that if you can sell your product well and that consumers go to these specialized stores and say, I want to know more about the Beek bikes, which they'll get to see through the dashboards of how much they'll be saving, they'll be more incentivized to buy them. And therefore, these specialized retail stores will want to hold your bikes in their stores specifically.
Quick question about your assessment between B2B and B2C. I recall that the different options, so the different value additions that you consider, exactly, thank you. So B2B gains absolutely nothing? There is no benefit there?
We're looking right now at a company that has little to no awareness in a market that they want to penetrate. So taking the biggest advantage to gain the bid when it comes to larger corporations, when you're going directly B2B, it's they're monetarily offering them lower margins, which right now is not something that we believe you should be doing, or having some sort of huge awareness in that company, which you either don't have. When it comes to B2C, you have that direct-to-consumer experience that you already are an expert in. You've proven it time and time again that providing your consumers, with the opportunity to ride your bikes is really the selling factor. When you go to the B2B model, you lose that opportunity. They're able to ride your bikes, but you're not able to be there and explain why your bike is such a great opportunity, nor use the dashboard that we've built out for you today.
If you can, thanks for your presentation. If you can articulate a little bit better on how you plan to differentiate in this very competitive market for B2C segment, for young segment. So.
Absolutely. If we go to the competitor slide for Spain, please. Now, we made a competitor map with the top 10 businesses within Spain that sell e-bikes. Now, we compared it both on the innovative design and the accessibility and affordability of your bike. Now, we do recognize that e-bikes, and your specifically Beek, is not very affordable, but it is accessible with your monthly payment plan that you offer. And many of these businesses offer monthly payment plans, but not broken down to the extent that you do offer, making it one of the most affordable high-end e-bikes that could be available in the Spanish market. And if we look at the design part, it's very well designed, and you have designs for different types of consumers. So overall, when we look at these two aspects, the opportunity for you to take over the market is great. The one key aspect that you are missing is a brand awareness that you don't have, which is what we're presenting to you today.
Going back to the financials of the analysis, and I noticed that this is a business and the return on investment is affordable and reasonable. But have you performed any kind of sensitivity analysis over that, and namely on the top line regarding the risks that you have identified in your strategy?
Yeah, thank you for your question. So no, we didn't do a sensitivity analysis. However, we believe that we went really conservative, for example, in terms of conversion rates for your 3 stores, the main phase that will drive the revenue. The main driver will be the conversion rates at 7%, if we go exactly. 7% for your largest store, and 6 and 5.5% on the smallest one. And we believe that this would be a driver. So if I would have to do a sensitivity analysis, this would be the main factor, and what will definitely move your return on investment and the other metrics.
Do you think there's room for Beek to increase the value proposition as you showed? Can you show again the matrix of the brand positioning?
The competitor matrix?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, when it comes to your competitors, although they offer slightly an inferior product and a less accessible product, they offer much more post services. And that's one way you can optimize the whole process or experience for your consumer. You already somewhat do it with your factories at RTE, where any bikes that are brought in are fixed so that the process isn't slowed down. You could offer the same sort of opportunities through the stores that you have and provide them with more products that they could use and attach to their bikes.
Picking up on that, did you consider cross-selling opportunities that we could implement as we go B2C, such as insurance? And do you recommend us to go there? Do you recommend BIC to go there?
Insurance is an opportunity. Right now in Spain, there's not much of an insurance demand when it comes to these types of products. The same could be seen in the drone industry. We looked at both, and it's not a huge demand, but you could be a first mover within and offer that to the post services.
In terms of the difficulty of the product being in a high range in terms of pricing, and especially when you look at young families, did you consider any alternatives besides the installment and process and payment terms? Have you considered other alternatives?
For the dashboard or the consumer itself?
For the consumer.
Well, we believe that with our dashboard, could we go to slide 104, I believe? We strongly believe that the main hindrance right now when it comes to the price point is the big price tag. We utilize the case study Acorn Savings app, which uses a pennies a day pricing strategy. They broke down the large price tags and saw a quadruple in the subscriptions and purchases. This same process has been used by Zoom and Athletic Greens, but more importantly, someone that more aligns with what you're offering, Apple. They are currently breaking down what their pricing is, both for the financial part, so if you're financing your product, and even just the payment-wise. They break it down so it's more manageable, and it's easier for people to understand the price and the impact. So we believe by utilizing that dashboard, it's enough and it's going to push them enough to purchase this bike and get over that barrier of price resistance.
Thank you.
Going back to the brand awareness that you mentioned, that is critical. It would take a little bit longer for us to reach a really nice brand awareness if we only start with 3 players in the market, no? How do you see about that?
Sorry, could you clarify your question?
Yes. Brand awareness was a point in the presentation that you were going to go with Velodrome, Mammoth, and ProBike. It seems a little bit very narrow to reach a broader scale, especially in the market as Spain. How do you see this evolving more like year to year? Not only these 3 players. Did you guys thought about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had Alex and Paula kind of top of mind whenever we were making our strategy. But first we thought we needed to establish your presence in person at stores, because if you don't give consumers the opportunity to ride, they're less likely to purchase. So we outlined these 3 as key examples, but the key criteria are really what you need to look for. And you already are at a few specialized dealers already in Spain. This is just to expand on that. Building upon the awareness is through our second phase with Primavera Sound, as well as through community cycling clubs and initiatives through there. So the awareness phase is really overlapping from years 1 to 3, starting with these presence in stores in order to gain that trust and awareness. So it's a slower build-up, but we think that is worth it to get the trust of the consumer.
Thank you.
How do you complement, or do you think the strategy should be complemented with the online? Even if this is mostly a physical, let's say, type of purchase, how could the online be further more leveraged in order to support the strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you go to phase 2 with the Wild at Home posters. Perfect. So these examples we provided were kind of physical, more marketing tactics, but the message is the same that we think you could drive online. We just know that your investment, we wanted to make sure they were spent at a reasonable rate, given that you're a young brand. So we didn't dive deep into online at the moment, but we think this messaging could still be the same on online initiatives. So while the examples here are wild out-of-home posters throughout the cities, we think you could leverage TikTok or even Instagram or even LinkedIn to target those young professionals if we were to consider this down the line.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, judges, for the questions, and thank you, team, for your presentation. All right, everyone, I hope you enjoy these presentations as much as I do. Please be back here in half an hour after the judges deliberate to announce the results. Thank you.
I don't wanna watch it burn. 'Cause I could never ride it. I don't wanna see it turn. You got me feeling, 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 you got me go back. I want so bad to hold you back. It's all I've said and done. Falling, be gone. I'll stand as I'm born again. The reason for no more overnight. The minute I was thinking to hold you back, the moment I was wishing it's overnight. The minute I was thinking to hold you back, the moment I was wishing it's overnight. The minute I was thinking to hold you back, the moment I was wishing it's overnight. The minute I was thinking to hold you back, the moment I was wishing it's overnight. Slow down, never. I know now, I know better. I need it more than ever. Go back harder, hold back. I fall on the track. It's all I've said and done over. like it. You got me feeling. You got me feeling like I'm unignited. You got me feeling like I'm wasting time. You got me feeling like I'm unexcited. You got me feeling. You got me feeling like I'm uninvited. You got me feeling like I'm going outside. You got me feeling like I'm won't even like it. You got me feeling. You got me feeling. You are better when I am not around. If I always just let you down, maybe it's just better if I leave it now. You got me feeling, you got me feeling, you got me feeling, you got me, you got me feeling like I'm just too tired. You got me feeling like I'm on it ice. You got me feeling like I've got no timing. You got me feeling, you got me feeling. You are better when I am not around. If I always just let you down, maybe it's just better if I leave it now. I don't wanna fight it. I don't wanna watch it burn. I could never ride it. I don't wanna see it turn. You got me feeling, 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 you got me feeling. Go back, I want so bad to hold you back. It's all I've said and done. Falling, be gone. I'll stand as I'm born again. The reason for no more overnight. The minute I was thinking to hold you back. The moment I was wishing it's overnight. The minute I was thinking to hold you back. The moment I was wishing it's overnight. The minute I was thinking to hold you back. The moment I was wishing it's overnight. The minute I was thinking to hold you back. The moment I was wishing it's overnight. Slow down, never, I know.
Okay, everyone, good afternoon. Good part. You've heard all the thank yous already. And you're anxious to go dinner and party. So this part will be quite straight to the point, unlike all the other presentations, right? Okay, so before the announcement of RTE case, we want to call to the stage Maastricht University to get your award for the warm-up case.
Lian.
And now we'd like to call Bruno Salgado from RTE to stage.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I would like first to thank you, Renata and Katarina, for the invitation. It's an honor for RTE and for BIG to be part of a case like this one. Renata, the first time we talk about this subject, Renata told me that I would be very surprised in what I was going to see. And I must say that I wasn't surprised. I was really astonished. It's impressive the talent that I have here in front of me in this room. I didn't expect it in such a young people, and if you make the ratio of talent and age that we have here inside, it's something that really makes me think that the future is bright. So thank you very much. Congratulations to everything.
Okay, so now can you please, Bruno, announce the third place?
Okay, so third place, New South Wales. Congratulations.
Okay, now you know that when we announce second place, everyone will know who is the winner, right? But I'd like to ask you to really celebrate the second place, okay? And then we take time to celebrate the first place, okay? So Bruno, who is second?
Concordia. I wait. Okay, winners, Wilfried Laurier. Congratulations.
Okay, and now let's have dinner and party. See you later.